Welcome to For the Record. I'm Michelle Wright, and today we're looking at what the Pittsburgh Film Office calls a record-breaking year for the film industry in the Pittsburgh area. 5 projects have generated an estimated $300 million in economic impact for the region. Those projects providing employment for so many Pittsburghers who work in the industry. But there's a push going all the way to Harrisburg to expand the Pennsylvania Film Production Tax Credit, which helps bring those productions to the Steel City. The Film Office says right now, demand for the program exceeds the amount of credits available. Let's start our discussion this morning by bringing in the Executive Director of the Pittsburgh Film Office. Let's talk to the person now who knows everything about this, Dawn Keyser, heading up the Film Office. We're so glad you're here to share what's going on. First of all, let's just talk about how cool it is to have these productions in our area.
Look, it's amazing, but we've been making movies in southwestern Pennsylvania since 1914. We did Perils of Pauline, you know, one of the silent movies where the woman's on the railroad tracks, we assume screaming, looks like she's screaming, can't hear her. But we have a great storied history, if you will, of making films and making cinema here in southwestern PA. So it's exciting to see it continue. It's amazing to watch it grow and really look at the men and women who've made this happen here in southwestern PA. So we're on a great roll. It should continue.
And we have a lot of talented people here who know what they're doing behind the scenes as well. How important is it for you to help bring in productions to keep these people employed?
Well, we have over 5,000 people in southwestern Pennsylvania that rely on this industry for all or some of their income. The majority of them these are full-time workers in the film industry. So it's vital that we have ongoing productions that are hiring people at family-sustaining wages, which is what happens here when we have a very healthy incentive to keep that work coming. Because films can go anywhere in the world. TV can go anywhere in the world, and they do. So having local people here that are talented, that are experienced, that people want to hire in this industry, plus we're training a whole lot more every single week, it's important that we have this ongoing pipeline of work coming into the region.
And sometimes that can be difficult to manage because budgets are involved at the state level. Let's talk about these tax incentives and what we have now and what you want.
Well, our film tax credit program is 18 years old. We were one of the first states in. Louisiana was first, New Mexico was second, Pennsylvania was third. We were there at the very beginning because we already had an industry. We had people working here, we had businesses that had experience in working here, so this was a way to level that playing field. At the time it was trying to keep up with Canada because of all the TV movie business that left. But the tax credits are currently at $100 million. Pennsylvania is very fortunate, on one hand, that we have 2 production centers. We have Philadelphia and we have Pittsburgh in southwestern Pennsylvania. It's an embarrassment of riches, if you will, right? But it means we have to share the credit. Plus, we have other places throughout the state. Now, in southwestern PA, we represent 10 counties. We've added Venango County recently. There's some great locations up there as well. But we're really showcasing, and we have people out in Washington County, Fayette County, Hershey was just out there, and we're using our whole region. 100 million split between these, it's not enough funding. We haven't kept current and we haven't kept competitive. New York, I think, is close to $900 million. New Jersey is pushing in on $1 billion, plus they're incentivizing people to build infrastructure. Netflix a week ago cut the ribbon on the Army base they just bought to make their production center in New Jersey. They bought a closed Army base. And they just keep growing and growing and growing. And we're right here, and we have the talent, and we haven't kept competitive. In the ideal world, we'd uncap this credit. We'd settle for $300 million with a plan to get us there. Because remember, this is work that wouldn't be here otherwise. We're spending 25 cents on every dollar that's spent while they're here to have this work here. Otherwise, we're not spending anything. And then the return on that investment, 2025 was a banner year for southwestern Pennsylvania with over $300 million of money spent in this economy. And that's on people, that's on hotels, that's car rentals, that's lumber, that's office supplies, all those things you think about when you think about the film industry, office supplies and lumber. But it's really, we're helping power the economy, and these are from audited financial statements. So we know exactly where the money's been spent. So in the perfect year, you know, this year we'd go to $300 million. I get there's other priorities in the budget. I just think if everyone could work together, we've got great bipartisan support. Senator Costa and Senator Bartolotta, Democrat, Republican, that run our film caucus, they're both on board with this. They understand the importance of this industry. They understand the money that's being spent. And they want to make sure that our over 5,000 people on this side of the state, plus the others on the other side, everybody's still going to work.
Talk about the competition and talk about not just with the tax incentives, we'll get to that, but talk about the competition in terms of what we have to offer. Our region can really look like anything for any movie that you'd ever imagine.
Exactly. I mean, look, the selling points why people ever come here, first and foremost, is our crew. They're some of the most talented people in the world, and they live here. So there's a cost savings for them, and they get to stay at home and work at home. People love that. As you pointed out, we have an amazing diversity of locations. We can look like anything in the world. We're a little light on the desert, a little light on the beach, but we sent them up to Erie for the beach. And when we needed the desert, we sent them out to Century 3 Mall and recreated Iraq. And you can't tell the difference. Go back and watch The Warrior if you're questioning what I said today. And then it's the cost. You know, Pittsburgh and southwestern Pennsylvania still has a lower cost of living than some of our competition. So it's far easier and cheaper for them to come. So 3 reasons: our crew, our locations, cost. And then I always call it the 4th unofficial reason, which is the people of Pittsburgh.
All right, so my final question is this. I know you've worked here for over 30 years organizing all this stuff. What is the favorite production that's been to our region that you've brought here?
You know, I change that answer all the time. I mean, currently I'd have to tell you Mayor of Kingstown, just because it's exciting. One of my stated goals when I got here was we were going to get episodic TV. We were going to get a TV series, because back in the day, they didn't leave LA or New York. If they did, it was for a day or two. We had The Guardian, if you remember, they would come a couple times a year and shoot a few days. But we've had, I think we're going to have to count and get the real number, but I think it's about 8 TV series now, but we never had one get past the 3rd season. And now Mayor of Kingstown's on season 5. So we've proven we can do TV here. So I love that. Perks of Being a Wallflower is one of my favorites. Every time I drive through the Fort Pitt Tunnel, I think about it. Want to climb in the back of someone's pickup, which you're not allowed to do. We always have to put that disclaimer in there. But yeah, look, we've had some amazing work here. And usually my favorite's the next one. Let's see what's coming next.
Keep it here, because coming up in just 2 minutes, a local state senator shares his thoughts on the efforts to raise the Pennsylvania film tax credit. Welcome back to For the Record, and right now the conversation continues about a banner 2025 year for the Pittsburgh Film Office and what needs to be done in the state capitol to help maintain the number of productions in our region. For more, let's go to my conversation with State Senator Jay Costa. All right, so now let's talk about what's going on with the tax credit. So many productions are here, and we're so proud when they come here and we see it on the big screen, but a lot of people want that tax credit to be raised, the limit. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, we've been trying for a number of years to increase the tax credit from $100 million, either uncapping it completely like many other states do, or at least increasing it to $125 or $150 million, because the demand is so great for the tax credits here in Pennsylvania, particularly given the program that we have and the flexibility we have with respect to it being able to be transferred, for example. Those are really good selling points, but the demand is so high that we need to take steps to increase it, but we have to also balance that against our revenue situation here in Pennsylvania, and that's been one of the issues we have to deal with.
So what is the holdup? Because I know we've been talking about this for a very long time. What is stopping you? Just the budget itself?
I think that's in part increasing it, uncapping it. There's uncertainty about how much would be impacted in terms of revenue loss. So that's a concern, particularly right now, this last couple of years when we've been struggling with our revenues and utilizing a significant portion of our surpluses that we have been going last couple of years, I should say, and even going forward. Draining down some of the rainy day fund is anticipated this year. So that's probably the biggest challenge. And I think that, but we need to do something. We need to put those issues aside and recognize that we're losing our market share across the country. These other states are uncapping. Other states are adding. New York, I think, is at $800 million. Georgia's like at $500 million. Other states around us are higher than Pennsylvania. So we're starting to lose our place in that production space. And I think that's one of the concerns that we have. So we have to figure out, balance the concerns with the revenue side as opposed to looking at what we're going to be able to lose in going forward. And that's what's challenging to us right now.
And you also have to consider what money is flowing back into the community. So you're talking about the state money,
Yep.
but also there's practical money on the ground here that's being spread out.
That's the point we have to do a better job of recognizing. This past year, I think our economic impact in this space was over $300 million. Last couple of years has been in excess of 225 or more. It's a sustainable amount of money coming back into the economy that people have to realize. It's just not the lost tax credit money that we're talking about. It's the economic impact that it's having. The people that are working, the good family paying jobs to our unions that are here and the other people who work here, those are the benefits of the tax credit and increasing it. We just have to make that case and now's the time to be able to do it given our position. And we can't lose our space because we have tremendous workforce here. We have some of the most skilled and dedicated workers in this space in a variety of different spaces, everything from carpenters to seamstress to production folks. We know what to do here and we do it well. We just got to continue to sell that to my colleagues in other parts of the state.
And let's talk about that a little bit because we do have all these craftsmen here in our area, and if they don't have work here, they're going to leave to find it.
No question, they're going to go to other places that are taking the jobs that we have here. So we got to be able to do what we can to maintain them. But they're good paying jobs and people want to stay here. And there's enough work, and there needs to be enough work to allow them to stay here year round. One of the concerns years ago was that they would pick up and move or there wasn't sustainable work. We're positioned now to have that sustainable work given the number of productions that are taking place here. I think last year there were 80 productions here between movies and other types of programming and the like. That's significant, and it's important that we have that to be able to sustain the work, keep the workers here. They have sustained work going forward year round.
And let's talk about the marketing value, because it's always exciting for us to see Pittsburgh on the big screen or local actors and actresses working. So we love following that, but it also gives people from outside this area a snapshot of how awesome it is here.
It's so true. We just saw the other day the folks from the Pit talking about Pittsburgh and how wonderful the experience here and who we are as Pittsburghers in our region. In some of the scenes that you see, the beautiful scenes of the Point and aspects of Western PA, different movies that have taken place, it highlights and demonstrates who we are, and it accelerates, I should say, it elevates how people perceive us and see us. The same theory with respect to the draft. One of the big things with the NFL draft is it's going to expose Pittsburgh to the rest of the world. Well, that's what happens when you have movies that are taking place here. It exposes our region, the beauty of our region and the diversity we have here to people who are watching those programs, and it's significant, it's important.
Still ahead, more on the impact of film and TV production in the Pittsburgh region from one of the people who actually works on the projects. Welcome back to For the Record. The need for film and TV production in Pittsburgh affects so many workers and their families. Right now, I speak with one of those workers, Greg Edwards. Take a look. And joining us now is Greg Edwards, and you are a dolly grip working behind the scenes on so many productions that happen here. I'm so happy you can give us a ground level perspective behind the scenes. Talk about what this means for Pittsburgh and those employees here looking to work in the industry.
Well, last year was a really good year for us. We had 5 productions in town. So everybody in the business pretty much got to work last year. compared to a few years ago where we didn't have all those people working. So with all those people working on 5 productions, brought a lot of money into the city.
And that job security is really nice too.
Yes.
And I understand it was a record-breaking year. What does that mean for the city of Pittsburgh in terms of letting the rest of the country know what we have to offer here?
Well, first we have a show called The Pit, and it shows Pittsburgh, which everybody thinks Pittsburgh's the old steel mill, smoky city. They get to see the pretty view of Pittsburgh, which we get to see every day. So we're showing the country what Pittsburgh looks like.
That is a great point. Talk about some of the interesting shows that you've worked on.
I got to work on Fences with Denzel Washington. I got to work,
That must have been a thrill.
it was great.
Yeah.
It was amazing being around the actors that were at the top of their level. I've got to work on Batman with Christian Bale.
Amazing. And you're currently working right now on something, a new project that's coming out.
Yes, it's called Parallax. It's for Apple TV. And we are over 100 days of production in Pittsburgh, which is, it's probably record breaking.
That's really exciting. Talk a little bit about the unions involved and what it takes to put on a production.
Well, we are a union town, so you have to be in the union to work on these productions. And what that does is once you get into the union, you're not guaranteed to work, but you have the opportunity to work. So you go into these productions and they hire qualified people. And what we do now, we are training the union members to be very good at their skills. So that's where Pittsburgh is. It's one of the cities that do that. They train their workers so that they can be at a very high level.
So if a producer was looking at some sort of a show that they wanted to put on or a movie that they wanted to put on, we have qualified people here that can guarantee quality work.
Yes, and they do their homework. They look on IMDb and they look and see what your resume is. And they will see that, like some of our camera operators, they work for Steven Spielberg, you know, so they're at that level. So we have very qualified people to do the job.
We love doing stories about all the different productions that come to town. How much does it mean to your fellow union members to keep movies coming here?
It is stability. You can stay in your hometown, you can work in your hometown, and you can purchase a home in your hometown. You can put your kids to school at home instead of being in another city because you have to go there for work. Most of the people that work in Pittsburgh, they stay here. And they're, like I said, they're very qualified people. They could work in California and New York. They choose Pittsburgh because they love being home.
How much has the industry changed since you started?
I would say for us, it's changed because it's at a bigger level now. The productions are bigger. When we started, they were small TV movies, and you would go to the north side and shoot a bunch of stuff. Now, you're on the north side one day, you're in Butler the next, you're all over the city. And like I said, this show that we're doing now is 100 days. And we were at a different location probably 60 of those days. That's a lot, from Butler to Harmony.
How competitive is it? Because I know people all over the country are looking to bring productions to their community. Canada's looking to take productions. How competitive is it to bring something here?
It's very competitive because of the tax credit. That's one of the reasons we get the jobs here. We have the qualified crew members also, but production, they want to save that money. They want that money, you know, back in their pocket. So there's other cities that are doing the same thing we're doing, but we have years and years of qualified people that are here, and that helps us out a lot.
How closely are you watching what's going on with that tax credit? I know that there's a big push to raise the cap, the limit that's on there right now. How closely do you and your fellow union members watch what's happening with that?
Well, we're very concerned about it because we've had issues with the budget and we didn't get the money on time. And what that does is productions won't come because they don't know when that money's going to open up. So last year we had a great year where people got to work year round, but some people didn't work because we ran out of money late in the year. And for the last 5 months, we could have had, if we had more money, we could have had more productions here and more people could have been working.
Do you think that Harrisburg is listening to that?
I hope they are. I believe they're trying to work with us. We have senators on board with us, and I mean, they're in communication with the film office every day, working on things. I think last year is going to show them that the money that was put back into the state of Pennsylvania is going to show them that it's a good deal to invest in the film office.
And I want to talk about that a little bit more, because we have talked about the importance of bringing productions here for the union members and the importance to show off the city of Pittsburgh. Why should other residents that live here care whether or not that tax credit is raised a little bit? What is the value of somebody who owns a restaurant or somebody who owns a convenience store? Why should they want other productions to come here?
Well, the restaurants, when production comes from out of town, actors will come from out of town, and you could look up and see a celebrity in your restaurant or in your bakery shop. Like last week, the actress went into a bakery shop and she took pictures with the whole, bakery crew. It's the, I want to say it's, everybody loves to see a celebrity. Mm-hmm. And for a celebrity to be in your neighborhood or walking down your street or, driving through your neighborhood, that's just, that's part of Hollywood that is a little piece of Pittsburgh.
And keep it here. A look at what's ahead on next week's For the Record is coming up in just 2 minutes. Coming up next week on For the Record, a celebration of Black History Month. Host Sheldon Ingram sits down with Sam Black from the Heinz History Center and others to dive deep into Black history in America and also right here in Pittsburgh with stories about our city that you might not have heard before. Catch this all new For the Record 1 week from today here on WTAE Channel 4. Until then, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next Sunday morning at 11.